You are being recorded. Reset. Next. There we go. This session is being recorded. It is another Monday night, a fantastic way to celebrate the start of the week. Isn't that cool? Yep. I'll bet those bottles of champagne on about the 47th take started to get a bit sticky. Anyway, let's get amongst this. Welcome, everybody. If you're here live or listening to the recording on YouTube and Telegram, we hope you enjoy. We've got a bit of interesting information tonight, which came completely out of left field and did not see it coming, I have to say. Although I was wondering how they were going to join a couple of things up, and they now have shown their hand, and gee, that's pretty cool. So let's get amongst this. 19th, is that the right date? Yep, it is. 19th of September 2022. Another Monday night. That's just amazing that we're in September. Like, we're a couple of months away from December. It's ridiculous. The year has gone fast. And here we are again, coming together to share some information. Everyone goes forward together. We mean it. Please reach out if you need help. I had a phone call from Mr. Ernie yesterday because his eyes had adjusted his computer screen. We had to get his screen back into focus so that he could see it. That's what we're about. Remember, we are here and it's our opinion only. We are expressing our view as affiliates of a number of companies only. We do not represent any of the companies we affiliate with, and we don't give financial advice. And look, we really do hope that you learn something from these webinars and that you take some of this information and make it work for you. I can see a massive change in our lives in the coming months, and we try really hard to keep you in front of the information. Some of it came through at 4:54 this morning, and that was a bit startling when I saw the screen captures. And we will have more detailed information next week, but we have quite a bit of information from the function that finished in the wee hours of this morning, our time, but it was in Dubai. So here is a screenshot of a recent webinar done by the guy in the top right corner. His name is Mark, and I can't pronounce his last name, but he is one of the sales managers for Safir. And he's talked about this 360 ecosystem for a while. And one of the things that has fascinated me is that nowhere on that does it tell you how they're doing the encrypted communication. Okay, our hubs are going to be directly connected to the exchange. Our phone and our app wallet is going to be connected to zeniq swap or the exchange, however you want to set it up. But there's a bit of a hole there in the back end of the communication that they've not ever talked about. Well, we are going to talk about that tonight. And there's a number of other things happening in the world. So let's have a look at this little Avanok screen. Avanok. Remember that we've had a savings plan put into our website that talks about getting a percentage of your revenue, whatever you earn, going into your system, your Safir website, as Avanok tokens, NFTs. And again, I thought about, how does that actually work? How are we going to get them out? There's no process. Well, at the function, they demoed that. And if you could actually read the text on this screen, because it's a photograph of a slide in a darkened room. And you'll notice that they're talking about the activation date was today, which was yesterday. Savings plan, get Avanoc NFTs with every benefit that you reach. And if you set your system up in the back end, you will be able to earn Avanoc tokens as you go along. But there's been no way to do anything with them. And now that's all finally coming together, because now you can move them. I haven't worked out how to do that yet, because we're not in that time zone and our website isn't set up yet like that. But we will get it in the next day or so. And once I blunder around enough, we'll put it into a webinar so that we can all see what that's going to do. But that's very cool, because those Avanoc tokens, I perceive, will be worth some money in the not too distant future. Here's a little video about it. Hoping that it runs.
Peer-to-peer.
There we go.
Peer-to-real.
Liquid hydrogen tank is at flight pressure.
And it was to create a decentralized exchange in a way that nobody did before.
Welcome to Avanoc, the think tank for the future of aviation industry. Our vision? A digital revolution in aviation, powered by blockchain technology and asset tokenization. You know airports, but only as a passenger? Think bigger. The air transport industry alone generates more GDP than the automobile and pharmaceutical industries combined. And it's still growing. Forecasts say that it will almost double, and by 2038, contribute around $6.3 trillion to the global economy. You've already booked a flight online? Think bigger. Digitalization is going to a new level. Blockchain technology, with a market cap of currently $2 trillion and figures predicted to quadruple by 2025. Just a vision? Think bigger. Avanoc has already brought the first projects to life. Meet the Avanoc token, your digital asset in the entire aviation business, and your access to fuel services, drone transport, call centers, or VOO, the world's first digital B2B marketplace for private jet travel created by Avanoc. This is only the beginning. Think bigger. Think further. Think Avanoc.
Zeniq, thank you very much that you followed the invitation. I'm really happy to show you the future stuff of aviation, to go with you around, to see all those new aviation technologies coming in the future.
I grew up in a place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream, I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place, see. Cause everybody wanna tell you bad things, what could go wrong, what fame brings. But success is a finicky thing, and if you ain't sure, no, it'll never be. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down. I don't wanna let myself down, myself down.
aviation network operation chain.
That's an amazing video presentation, isn't it? And I'm amazed and fascinated by the fact that the first two projects that zeniq has turned on their blockchain are huge, taking over the entire part of the aviation industry is just astounding. It's beyond comprehension to think that we're going to own a piece of that because we have Avanok tokens and we've earned them as we went along. They're not something we've had to put our hand in our pocket to buy. So I really like that. I love the way they've put this whole program together, how they've packaged it, how they've worked through it, and how they've presented it. So in a few weeks, I will have a lot more information because we're going to meet with the CEO of zeniq and Safir, and we will have conversations with them about our own coin projects and where they see that going. It's an amazing outcome. And boy, we're in for a ride. Now, along the way, one of the slides said Safir has moved. They're no longer at the address we had a few weeks ago. They're now up the top of that spike where the star is. And apparently that's all controlled at the top of that building there is controlled by the royal family of Dubai. The only suites above the Safir office is the head of the royal family. So I don't know what that means for us other than I'm not sure how I'll go at that altitude if I'm going to meet someone in that building. However, I may need a sick bag, just saying. I don't have a problem in airplanes, helicopters, none of that. Fantastic. Love it, enjoy it. Love flying around in army choppers, whizzing all over the place. It was the greatest experience of my life. But one year I was in London and some fool convinced me, the fool that I was, to get on the London Eye. And I thought, yeah, that'll be a fun ride. Well, we hadn't moved 6 inches, which meant we were still at ground level. And I thought I was going to die. I've never understood car sickness or anything like that until I got on that stupid Ferris wheel in London. I did the entire trip laying on the floor, moaning, groaning, thinking that I was about to die. It was a horrendous trip around that wheel. And I don't know what it is. And I'm in something that's a physical object that's supposed to be attached to the ground. I get up on an elevation like that, there's going to be a problem. I might have to wear blinkers like a bad horse so I can't see out the window. Anyway, that's the new address of the Safir office. That's very cool. The zeniq swap program was announced that it's now happening and they're adding it into the app on your phone as we speak. zeniq swap is a very simple trading platform. So it's going live in the next few days. And they did some demos and talked to people about how you would trade or swap tokens. Now, this is not a program like Bitforex or La Token or any of those big exchanges where there's graphs and all sorts of things. This is a really simple crypto swap program. So you've got zeniq coins and you want to buy Ethereum, you select that pair, bing, done. Doesn't give you any other options other than the really basic stuff. And it's designed to be like that. It's a simple platform like PancakeSwap. The big difference is PancakeSwap is rather expensive to use. zeniq swap is really cheap. Really, really cheap. The fees are ridiculously slow. Stephen, I'm not sure what floor it is, but it's 100 and something. I was told this morning at 4:54 or something like that. I was reeling with shock when they said this is where it is. So it's right at the top. Here's some screenshots, some quick views of the app and what it will do. You can see on there straight away that there's no graphs or anything. There's no trading data. It's a simple swap platform. You want to receive, send, etc. These are the screenshots of the new zeniq app, as far as I know, and they're integrating it with zeniq swap. And you can see that there are some pairs. This is the pre-launch phase, so pairs will be limited, but it will expand as time goes on. But it is a really simple swap program. It is not a full-on trading platform like Bitforex or any of those major platforms. It's not designed to be like that. It's for the simple ones of us that just want to be able to move something. And I can tell you there's a few of us. I've never really understood the graphs other than I know that whether it's going up or whether it's going down, and because I've never had the time to sit and read it and understand it, I'd rather have this one because it's a point and shoot job. Now, this is something that joined a lot of dots for me. zeniq Communications. They have built and tested an encrypted communications app that runs on your phone. It's fully functioned, or will be shortly. So it'll have end-to-end encryption, fully decentralized conversations. So this is running on the zeniq blockchain. And the beauty of that is it is decentralized. It's not decentralized like some apps that I could name who recently have crashed because they weren't decentralized. They just said it was. So this is fully decentralized. It's voice over IP. Now, if you're a tech head, you'll know that IP stands for Internet Protocol. And the great thing about that when they launched the internet was working out how they could send information in little packets, and they could go down 10 different roads to get to the end. But they had to know when they got there whether it had been successfully completed or not. So that's what Internet Protocol was all about, was breaking up information into packets, encrypting them, sending them, joining them back together at the other end and making sure that they're in the right order. Well, that's how these phone calls and video calls will work. It's done in a way that you can guarantee that no one can intercept it. And yes, Martin, some people will know it as VoIP, which is voice over IP. IP was the base layer, and then they added voice to it, and you can talk on Skype, WhatsApp, all of those things that allow voice internet communications. That's voice over IP. And yes, that's an application of it. You'll be able to do video calls, and again, fully encrypted. So VoIP, that's known as video over IP, as well as voice over IP. It's interesting, isn't it, how they get stuck on acronyms. They're everywhere once you start to get talking to tech heads. They're talking about using this platform as the cryptocurrency send and receive. And they're saying that that's potential because it'll be in the second phase. So they're going to get this released so that it works and we can use it. And then they'll come in behind that and do upgrades to the service. And that's pretty cool because that's one of the queries I had looking at their 360 roadmap, how are they going to facilitate all of that comms in the back end? And now they've actually told us exactly how they're going to do it. And that is amazing, because that's important. And it's important that it's decentralized and that we have our foot on that blockchain. It's a possible bridge to IoT devices like the zeniq hub. Okay, Martin, you know what an IoT device is? Come on, show us a bit of your style. IoT devices, Internet of Things, yeah. Pretty much that's it. They're standard devices that talk to each other through the internet, but can connect wirelessly and have the ability to transmit data. So, yeah, you would randomly assign that title of the Internet of Things, because they are things. They're not specifically phones or tablets or whatever. You can have pretty much anything that will connect to the internet, use that as a medium of communication to transmit data. And they're talking about doing that as well. And then the last thing is group communication, so that we'll be able to have a Zen Gold group on this platform. And we're finally will remove us from all of the scammers that we get in Telegram. Telegram has become overrun by people who are using it to run scams and pitch to people, as is WhatsApp. So this will be nice to be able to switch onto this platform and remove ourselves from that. But it's not out yet. I believe they did some testing there the other day, but it's well underway and answers a lot of questions. Now, we've talked about this before, but do you all remember this? The Perth Mint accused of criminal breaches after failing to register international money. Criminal breaches. Do you think this story is going to get any worse? Well, yep, remember, this is owned by the West Australian government, and it is getting worse, because ABC yesterday posted it's getting worse. There's the link to the news story. I'll put it in the description on YouTube. But it says at the bottom of the page that Perth Mint opened in 1899 and is now responsible for about 10% of global gold production. 10% of global gold production. This is owned by the West Australian government. And this is now 2 government departments investigating them. About a year ago, I think we talked about the first hint of issues coming out of the Perth Mint. The Perth Mint is owned by the state government. That's a West Australian Perth Mint. Now, when you go into reading about what goes on with it, Perth Mint was put together when all of our money was backed by gold. And that's why in those days, if you dug gold up out of the ground, the only people you were allowed to sell it to was the Australian government. And that carried on right through into the 70s. I had a friend up in North Queensland who had a gold mine, and they shut it down because the government was telling them how much they would buy the gold off them, and they weren't allowed to sell it to anyone else. And that ended up being a massive loss for every kilo of gold that they got out of the ground. So they just shut down. So what's been the response? The Premier, Mr. Mark McGowan, first just brushed it off and said, it's just an administrative oversight. Really? But he's since reversed course, saying, my government is taking this matter very seriously. Now, I don't know why they think that we, the people, will ignore everything. But I can tell you it's confronting when, if you or I did something like that, we'd be hauled into the courts, and we have an enormous amount of oversight from Austrac and ASIC because we deal in gold and silver, and I've had many an argument with them. They've waved their arms around and shouted a few times. But here we are. Mark McGowan, the Premier of Western Australia, tried to brush this off and say, it's just an oversight. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Well, now nobody's laughing about it because there is massive amounts of capital that have gone through the Perth Mint. And there's been no records of where the cash came from. Isn't that interesting? Because all of a sudden, that means that they've converted cash of no fixed proof of cleanliness into certified clean bullion. Now, if you or I were going to do that, I would be accused of money laundering. But now our West Australian government, a wholly owned subsidiary of that government, has done that, and they're trying to brush it off as an administrative oversight. It's outrageous. And that would be why the Perth Mint has the capital to do things like this. 2.48 million for that coin. 2.48 million. Argyle pink diamonds and gold. Isn't it interesting that the Perth Mint has the capability to do that, but doesn't have the capability to keep track of where the money comes from that buys their bullion? And yet I go into the bank to deposit $1,000 cash because I've sold something, and I get grilled about where did that money come from. It's a two-edged sword and a double standard. And somewhere along the line, I hope somebody at the Perth Mint gets the rounds of the kitchen and somebody ends up getting prosecuted, because that's just not good enough. Remember, zeniq is the engine room. They are the blockchain. Safir runs the people. Tupan, project number 1. Avanok, project number 2. And those 4 things together are amazing, because the AU4U tokens will give that blockchain the security of metal. It has been an amazingly good, I suppose, chance meeting with Boris on the phone, because it's saved us years of work and tens of thousands of dollars to create a token that is backed by physical metal. And we're putting it onto a blockchain that will expose it to about 700,000 people. Yeah, I think we'll sell some of those. And it might take us a while, but that turnover is going to become enormous, because it is an absolute guarantee that each token will have metal behind it. And we'll move that from gold and silver into palladium, platinum, and rhodium, the 5 main precious metals. That will be a good day. Tupan minting has now started for full and partial hubs, and the full hubs are now displaying. Partial hubs will display shortly, because there was a heap more code they had to do to get that to work, but they're onto that now, and we'll have it done post-haste. The number of minted tokens per user can differ greatly in the first few days, as that depends on the phase in which your hub is already at within the minting process. And these differences at the start balance themselves out automatically over a short time. And I've already seen that with the full hubs in talking to people when it first started to show up. Some people's hubs had 4 days worth of tokens, and mine had 1, and then 3 days later it was the other way around, and it's going to work out. Don't stress. Here's where you can add the 2-pan minting to your hub, €9.98. You can add that license onto your existing hub. You can buy partial licenses. So those of us that have only got a €100 hub can add a €100 license to match it. Or you can have a minting node that is not attached to a zeniq hub. You'll see the difference in the price. The one on the left, the minting add-on for a full hub is $9.98. The one on the right is $12.98. So because it's not using an existing hardware device, you've got to do a bit more work to set it up and make it work, so it costs more money. But there's 3 options there now. They all work. You can now see it. I know when you look at it in the back office, you can see it'll tell you the date that the minting license was purchased. It gives you the smart contract address. Now, at some point in the not too distant future, we will get someone on the webinar to show us how to actually look that up. I know that there is, I think if you click on it, it takes you to the smart contract. And there is a place where you can read the contract and it tells you what's involved. This is the wallet ID. So that's the wallet that your 2-pan tokens are in. You can see the minting power, and it'll tell you, when I took that screenshot of someone's hub, how many tokens it had in the system. Now that's very cool. It's very transparent, very clean, and yeah, there's not much more information we can ask for. Remember this event in Dubai in December. If you are thinking of going, please let me know. We need to organise travel to and from, etc. What's Cassie saying? Well, both parties need the app, doesn't go to an ordinary mobile number. No, the app will need to be end-to-end, so both ends will need to have the app on their phone. This function in Dubai in December will be an announcement of a lot of more details of what's coming and what's in the process. Will 2-pan tokens show up in the new wallets? Yes, they will. This function, there's already some hints been announced about what they're going to talk about, but the hints went over my head. So I'll need to do some more digging around about that. So just to make sure, if you're thinking about going, please let us know so we can arrange for anyone that's going to be staying somewhere close together or something like that. There's a number of places you can stay in Dubai that are relatively inexpensive. You don't want to stay in the Burj Khalifa because their cheapest room is about 8,500 Australian dollars per night, and that's the cheap room. Everything after that goes up. I mean, there's suites there you can pay $100,000 a night for, which I think is just a little bit over the top, just a touch. So there will be people there at that event from all over the world. The November event has people coming from, I think we're probably the furthest people to come there. And the November event is specifically about projects and getting them tokenized. So we will have meetings with the CEO of zeniq and Safir while we're there, and we will get things underway as quickly as we can because we are anxious for that to get going and get started. The blockchain stats, I've started looking this up every week just to make sure that there's nothing going to jump out and bite us on the butt. Notice it's a rather smooth curve. That's the number of blocks that are written every week. That number changes. So when I look that up, the link is live, so you can just look it up yourself. It gives you the transactions per second, all sorts of information like that. It's an actual block explorer, which is quite cool. Is anyone still in doubt? The idea of what we're doing is becoming mainstream because they're releasing technology and projects that just work. We're not talking about cryptocurrency that someone's invented, hoping that there'll be a use for it and that the price will go up. These are real world products and projects. Who knew? Apparently we knew. We found it. Our first level has been approved by the government to have regulated crypto, and we're negotiating with them at the moment for how that will actually look. AU4U has goldrocks. zeniq has safir. The zeniq blockchain runs from their end and it's decentralized. We're going to have Australian physical metal, Singapore metals for the tokens. zeniq is going to have Avanok, Tupan, zeniq coins, and 400 other projects. Now, that 400 is an old number. I know that they've been working on that number for a while. What links all that together? Silver and gold tokens. We, the people on this call, the AU4U members that set off down this road, will earn revenue from that turnover because that all comes from the smart chain. It's not going to be a requirement for Cassie or I to be involved with it, or Jim Bob in Venezuela who needs to push a button to make something happen. The entire process is on the smart chain. So there'll be no requirements for manual intervention. Thus, there'll be a bit of dancing about the place and on chairs and things like that. Remember, this is all about tokenizing assets. It will disrupt a lot of industries. And I mean a lot. I believe there's the potential for this process to replace what happens now with owning real estate assets in, what do you call them when they are in a block of units, body corporates. This is going to revolutionise that industry. It's going to revolutionise the metal industry that we're in. It's going to revolutionise the communications industries. I can't think of anything. Strata titles. Thanks, Malcolm. That's what it's going to change. I can't think of anything that people will look at in 10 years' time and not notice a difference, because this process works. It's cheap and it works. And boy, I am excited to be at the forefront of this industry. Our thoughts, prayers and well wishes go out to everyone in the Ukraine. And look, I've got to say, congratulations on the current positive scenes coming out of that country, and we hope that your entire country is freed without any more atrocities right quick. Good luck, and we're thinking of you. How is our world going? Well, this is why you should buy gold and silver now. Rick Rule, an interesting dude to listen to and well worth the listen. This is a half-hour discussion on how the Russian gold standard could expose fair gold price and end manipulation. Now, it's a pretty long bow to say that it will do that, but this guy talks about what it could do, because there's now another major player in the bullion market that's running a different standard to what we're glued to. So it would be good if we could disrupt that industry, as we're going to with our tokens. But that's yet to be determined. Here is Luke Alexander talking about, can gold survive the Fed's next aggressive move? And look, I've listened to a bunch of podcasts in the last couple of weeks about what the Fed's going to do, what they're not going to do, what gold is going to do, what silver's going to do. Pretty much everybody is agreed that gold and silver will skyrocket at some point in the very near future because inflation is just becoming rampant. And I hope in here, in this one, there's, there might not be. I listened to another one today where they talked about, where are we here? Oh, yeah, it's on the last one. I'll talk about that when I get there. Here we are. Another big developer collapses. This is a Southeast Queensland developer, $80 million in the hole. I don't know how many of these builders and developers have collapsed in the last few months, but it's a lot. And that will impact the building industry. There is a house under construction across the road from where I am tonight. And I hope that those people have a builder in hand that will complete for them and do that, because there are lots of people being left in the lurch by these collapses. Who knows what's going to happen? Here we go. Mr. Manarino, he is amazingly coming out and does one of his shock horror days, because people are now realising in America that the data that's coming out, being released by lots of government agencies, is fake, because inflation is going rampant and lots of people are working out that the information is false. Here's the one I was thinking of. This dude is talking about, you think the US is in a world of hurt, you should just see what's happening in China. There's situations where there's demonstrations because the banks won't give people their money. There was a number of situations in Lebanon where people have actually held up a bank and taken hostages just to withdraw their own money. Interesting. Where is that going to end? This dude's talking about how bad the situation is in China. And boy, it's pretty ugly when you listen to him talk about it. But that's going to impact us, because if the Chinese economy goes down the gurgler, we're not going to be digging up as much stuff and shipping it over there. Amazing stuff happening as we speak. Okay, what do we do now? We're in the right place. You've listened to some great information tonight. It's free to add a wallet. Coin minting starts at €100 and up. Stay focused on the package: gold, silver, crypto on the zeniq blockchain. That is an asset-backed token. Let me rephrase that again. Gold, silver, and crypto on the zeniq blockchain. That is an asset-backed token. There's some security in that. Why are we here? We're a group of like-minded people focused on economic survival. The world is changing and we absolutely need to pay attention. This is the webpage to adopt a qual. Please don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, these little guys get no government subsidies. They get the little bits of dribs and drabs. And you can imagine you sponsor a qual for $60. They mail you out a DVD, packet of information, probably costs them $40 to do that. So it's a great option to give them a hand. The bottom line is everything we knew as normal has gone fishing and it ain't coming back. Everything we've ever talked about is coming true. So, ladies and gentlemen, the dawn of a new era is upon us. That's us for tonight. If you have any questions, please whip them in the chat window. If you're a smarty pants typist, like a few of you are, I know. If it's me, I've got to lick my finger in between each character on the keyboard. make sure that I get it spelt out right. Thanks, Dallas. Anybody else? Put your hand up. Unmute. Okay, Martin, I look forward to it. Okay.
Derek,
Oh,
is
yes,
there
Steve.
any alternative yet to ESC for buying gold and silver by credit card?
No. And we're going to
Okay.
do that with the zeniq wallet. So that's
Okay,
coming
cool.
very soon, but it's part of the zeniq system.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Okay, everybody. We look forward to seeing you on the golden beaches of the world. Have a great night.